Right now, you are trusting your eyes. You believe that the world you see around you is happening at this exact moment. You believe that when you look up at the night sky, you are seeing the universe. You are wrong. You are looking at a graveyard. You are looking at an illusion so perfect, so all-encompassing, that the human brain cannot distinguish it from reality. But tonight, we are going to peel back that illusion. We are going to talk about the most terrifying measurement in all of physics, a measurement that sounds poetic, almost romantic, the light year. It sounds like a journey. It sounds like an adventure. But it is not. It is a prison cell. It is the absolute limit of our existence, a cage built of time and distance that ensures we are, and will always be, utterly alone. To understand why, you have to break something in your mind. You have to shatter the very comforting, very human notion of simultaneity. We think that now is a universal concept, that what happens here happens there. But the universe doesn't work like that. The universe is built on a lag, a stutter, a delay that stretches from seconds to billions of years. This delay is governed by the speed of light. In a vacuum, light travels at approximately 186,000 miles per second, or, to be precise, 292,458 meters per second. It is the cosmic speed limit. Nothing with mass can touch it. Nothing with information can exceed it. It is the clock speed of reality itself. On the surface, that sounds fast. Incredibly fast. If you could travel at the speed of light, you could circle the Earth 7.5 times in a single second. Snap your fingers. In that time, a photon has already circumnavigated the globe 7 times. It feels instantaneous. It feels like magic. And because we evolved on this tiny microscopic rock, our brains are wired to perceive light as instant. When you turn on a lamp, the room is illuminated immediately. When you look at your hand, you see it now. But that is only because the distances are so pathetically small. Zoom out, just a little bit. Let's look at the moon. It is our closest companion, the only other object in the universe human beings have ever touched. It sits roughly 240,000 miles away. When you look at the moon, you're not seeing it as it is. You're seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. That is the time it takes for the light to bounce off the lunar regolith and hit your retina. 1.3 seconds. That doesn't seem like much, a heartbeat, a breath. But it is a crack in the glass. It is the first hint that you are disconnected from the present. If a massive asteroid were to strike the moon, annihilating it instantly, you would still see the moon hanging peacefully in the sky for 1.3 seconds. You would be living in a past that no longer exists. Now, push further. Look at the sun, our engine, the source of all heat and life. It is 93 million miles away. That distance is so vast that light, moving at that impossible speed of 186,000 miles, every second takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to cross the gulf. 8 minutes. Think about what that means. It means that if the sun were to vanish right now, if it was simply plucked out of existence by some cosmic hand, we wouldn't know. We would go on about our day. We would walk the dog, pour a coffee, feel the warmth on our skin. We would still see the gravitational anchor of our solar system shining in the sky. For 8 minutes and 20 seconds, we would be orbiting a ghost. We would be bathed in the light of a dead star. The gravitational waves wouldn't hit us yet. The darkness wouldn't hit us yet. We would be completely ignorant of our own doom until the information finally arrived, crashing into us at the speed of light. This is the horror of the light year. It is not just a distance, it is a disconnect. It separates cause from effect. It means that we can never, ever know the state of the universe right now. Right now does not exist for us outside of our immediate vicinity. We are trapped in a bubble of ignorance, expanding outward at the speed of causality. But the sun and the moon are neighbors. They are in the same room as us. To truly understand the horror of the light year, we have to leave the house. We have to go out into the dark. Imagine the solar system as a sprawling city at night. The sun is the town hall blazing with light. The earth is a small house a few blocks away. But as you go further out, the streetlights get dimmer. The distances between houses become vast stretches of empty, frozen asphalt. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. These aren't just planets, they are time capsules. When we look at Jupiter, we are looking 43 minutes into the past. If you look at Jupiter through a telescope and see a storm raging on its surface, that storm happened nearly an hour ago. If a probe crashed into the clouds of Jupiter, the mission control team on Earth would be celebrating a successful orbit entry, while the probe had actually been dead and crushed for 43 minutes. The delay is maddening. It makes conversation impossible. It makes control an illusion. Push out to Pluto, the dwarf planet at the frozen edge. Light takes 5.5 hours to reach Pluto. A round-trip signal, a command sent to a probe and a confirmation sent back takes 11 hours. Imagine trying to drive a car by remote control, but the video feed you are watching is 5 hours old, and when you turn the wheel, the car doesn't turn for another 5 hours. That is the reality of space exploration. It is a slow, agonizing game of correspondence, chess played against the void. But even Pluto is in our backyard. This is where the human brain begins to break. This is where the numbers stop making sense and start inducing vertigo. We need to talk about the Voyager 1 probe. Voyager 1 is the furthest human-made object in history. It was launched in 1977. It has been traveling for nearly 50 years. It is screaming through the void at 38,000 miles per hour. That is speed beyond comprehension. A bullet travels at 1,700 miles per hour. Voyager is traveling 22 times faster than a bullet, and it has been doing so for half a century without stopping, without slowing down. And yet, in terms of light years, Voyager hasn't even left the front porch. Voyager 1 is currently about 22 light hours away from Earth. Not years, hours. After 50 years of maximum speed, it has not even covered one light day. It has traversed less than 0.02% of a single light year. This is the scale we are dealing with. We are not travelers. We are barely crawling infants. The closest star system to us is Alpha Centauri. It is a triple star system, a glittering neighbor in the cosmic sense. It is 4.24 light years away. Let's try to visualize that. 4.24 light years. Imagine the sun is a grain of sand, a single, tiny grain of silica sitting on your fingertip. If the sun is that grain of sand, the Earth is a microscopic speck of dust orbiting an inch away from it. Pluto is another speck of dust about 10 yards away. So, on this scale, where is Alpha Centauri? Where is the next nearest grain of sand? It is 4 miles away. Think about that. A grain of sand here. 4 miles of absolute emptiness. And then another grain of sand. And in between, nothing. A vacuum so perfect, so cold, and so empty that the human mind cannot conceive of it. There is no air, there is no sound, there is no warmth, just 4 miles of nothingness, separating 2 specks of dust. And that is just the nearest neighbor. That is the house next door. If we wanted to send Voyager 1 to Alpha Centauri, if we pointed that brave little probe at the target and just waited, it would take 75,000 years to get there. 75,000 years. That is longer than recorded human history. If we had launched Voyager when the first humans were painting on cave walls, it would still be travelling today, only halfway there. This is why the light year is terrifying. It turns the universe into a series of locked rooms. We can see the lights in the other rooms. We can see the shadows moving under the door. But we can never, ever open the door. The distances are too vast. The speed limit is too strict. We are quarantined, and it gets worse. Because the light year is not just a barrier to travel, it is a barrier to truth. When you look at Alpha Centauri, you see it as it was 4 years ago. That's manageable. But look deeper. Look at the bright star Sirius, 8.6 years ago. Look at Betelgeuse, the red giant on the shoulder of Orion, roughly 640 years ago. When you look at Betelgeuse, you are seeing light that left the star around the time of the medieval Black Death in Europe. That light has been travelling through the freezing dark for 6 centuries, carrying the image of that star, only to terminate on your retina tonight. Is Betelgeuse still there? Probably, but maybe not. It's unstable. It could have gone supernova 300 years ago. It could have exploded in a cataclysm of fire that would outshine the moon. But we wouldn't know. We are still waiting for the news. We are waiting for the light to carry the obituary across the gap. The information is travelling toward us, racing through the void, but until it hits us, we are stuck watching a rerun. We are watching a historical documentary and mistaking it for a live broadcast. This is the look-back time. And as we stare deeper into the universe, the look-back time becomes a form of time travel that strips away our significance. Look at the Andromeda Galaxy. It is the nearest major galaxy to our own Milky Way, a swirling island of 1 trillion stars. It is visible to the naked eye on a dark night as a faint, fuzzy smudge. That smudge is 2.5 million light-years away. 2.5 million years. When the photons striking your eye tonight left Andromeda, humans did not exist. Homo sapiens had not yet evolved. Our ancestors were primitive hominids in Africa, just beginning to use stone tools. While that light was travelling, while it was crossing the impossible black void between galaxies, species rose and fell. Ice ages came and went. Empires were built and burned to ash. The pyramids were raised, the atom was split, the internet was born. And only now, after 2.5 million years of silent, lonely travel, has that light finally arrived. You are not looking at a galaxy, you are looking at a fossil. You are seeing a ghost from before the dawn of humanity. For all we know, Andromeda could be gone. It could have been consumed by a cosmic void, or harvested by a Type 3 civilization, or simply flickered out. We are looking at a postcard from an era before we had words. And this realization brings us to the first true horror of the anomaly. The universe we study, the universe we map and measure and claim to understand, is a lie. It is a composite image. It is a collage made of out-of-date photographs. Imagine trying to understand the state of the world today, but your news from New York is a day old. Your news from London is a year old. Your news from China is a century old. And your news from Australia is from the dinosaur era. How could you possibly form a coherent picture of the world? You couldn't. You would be stitching together mismatched timelines. That is what we do with astronomy. We map the universe, but the map is temporally broken. The farther out we look, the further back in time we go. We can never see the universe as it exists right now. The universe now is a theoretical concept that we can never observe. We are trapped in a sphere of causality, forever lagging behind the truth. But there is something even stranger, something that keeps astrophysicists awake at night. We talked about the speed of light being the speed limit. We talked about how fast it is, 186,000 miles per second. But here is the catch. Here is the anomaly that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Why that speed? Why 209,792,458 meters per second? Why not infinite? Why does the universe have a frame rate? If light were instantaneous, we would see the universe as it is. We would be connected to everything. But we are not. There is a limit. And that limit suggests that the simulation we are living in has a processing cap. Think about a video game. When the computer has to render too much information, it lags. It can't process the data instantly. There is a delay. The speed of light looks suspiciously like the processing speed of the hardware running our reality. It suggests that the universe is not analog. It is digital. It is quantized. And if there is a speed limit, there is a constraint. And if there is a constraint, there is a container. We are not just looking at stars. We are looking at the walls of our cage. And the terrifying part isn't just that the walls are there. It's that the walls are moving. We used to think the universe was static. Then we thought it was expanding, but slowing down, like a ball thrown into the air, losing momentum. We thought gravity would eventually pull it all back together. We were wrong. In the late 1990s, we discovered something that broke physics. We discovered that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. It's speeding up. The galaxies are not just moving away from us, they are fleeing. They are being pushed away by a mysterious, invisible force we call dark energy. And this brings us to the edge of the cliff. Because the universe is expanding, the space between galaxies is stretching. And in some places, it is stretching faster than the speed of light. Wait. Didn't I say nothing can travel faster than light? Matter cannot travel faster than light through space. But space itself. Space can do whatever it wants. Space can expand faster than light. This means there are galaxies, entire islands of billions of stars, that are moving away from us faster than their light can travel toward us. Their light is trying to reach us. It is racing through the void at 186,000 miles per second. But the space in front of it is expanding at 187,000 miles per second. The light is running on a treadmill that is moving backward too fast. It will never reach us. Those galaxies are disappearing. They are falling off the edge of the observable universe. Every second, a portion of the universe vanishes from our view forever. The light goes dark. The signal is lost. We are not just isolated by distance. We are being actively erased. The horizon is shrinking. We are living in a cosmic trapdoor that is slowly sliding shut. And as we peer into that darkness, trying to see the light that will never reach us, we have to ask ourselves, what is happening in the dark? What is happening in those regions of space that have been disconnected from our reality? If a galaxy falls out of the observable universe, does it cease to exist for us? Yes. It becomes causally disconnected. It might as well be in another dimension. But just because we can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. And just because we can't see what's watching us from the dark doesn't mean we are safe. The light year is not a ruler. It is a countdown. And we have to wonder, what happens when the countdown hits 0? We need to talk about the balloon. You have probably heard this analogy before in a sterile classroom. A teacher tells you to imagine the universe as a deflated balloon with dots drawn on it. The dots are galaxies. As you blow up the balloon, the rubber stretches. The dots move away from each other. No matter which dot you are standing on, it looks like every other dot is fleeing from you. It's a simple, comforting image. It explains why the universe is expanding. But the analogy hides the violence. Replace the balloon with a rack, a torture device. Imagine you are strapped to a machine that is slowly, relentlessly pulling your joints apart. But it's not pulling your arms and legs. It is pulling the space between your atoms. It is pulling the emptiness between you and your safety. This expansion, this stretching of the rubber, is not happening out there. It is happening everywhere. It is happening in the room you are sitting in. It is happening inside your body. The only reason you don't fly apart is that the electromagnetic force holding your atoms together and the gravity holding the Earth together are, for now, stronger than the expansion. We are fighting a constant silent war against the void. We are huddling together for warmth while the storm outside tries to tear the house down. And the storm is winning. To understand the scale of this defeat, we have to look at the cosmic event horizon. In a black hole, the event horizon is the point of no return. Once you cross it, gravity is so strong that light cannot escape. You fall in, and you are gone. But the universe has an event horizon too. It is the distance at which the expansion of space exceeds the speed of light. Any galaxy beyond this line is lost to us. If a civilization in one of those galaxies invented a magical beacon that shone with the power of 1 trillion suns and turned it on right now, we would never see it. The photons would travel toward us at light speed, but the space between us would grow at superluminal speeds. The light is like a swimmer trying to swim upstream against a current that is flowing faster than they can stroke. They will drift backward, further and further into the dark, until they drown. This means that the universe is not just big. It is fragmented. It is broken into isolated islands of causality. We can never contact anything outside our bubble. We can never know what is out there. There could be a war raging across 1 billion galaxies, a cosmic empire spanning half the universe, or a tear in the fabric of reality, consuming everything in its path, and we would have absolutely no way of knowing. We are sitting in a soundproof room, blindfolded, assuming that the silence means we are safe. But even within our bubble, within the observable universe, the distances transform space travel from a dream of exploration into a nightmare of isolation. Let's assume we crack the code. Let's assume we build a ship that can travel at 99.9% of the speed of light. We become the gods of speed. We bypass the slow crawl of Voyager. We can reach the stars. This is where the second horror of the light year kicks in. It is called time dilation. Einstein taught us that space and time are not separate. They are woven together. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. If you travel at the speed of light, time stops. So you board your ship. You wave goodbye to your family. You are going to visit the center of the Milky Way to see the supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A, which sits 26,000 light years away. You fire the engines. You accelerate to 99.999% of light speed. For you, inside the ship, the journey is miraculous. Because of time dilation, the universe flattens around you. the distance shrinks. What is 26,000 light-years to Earth might feel like just a few years to you. You eat your meals, you read your books, you sleep. You arrive at the center of the galaxy. You witness the swirling majesty of the accretion disk. You take photos. You feel the triumph of human engineering. You turn the ship around and come home. To you, the round trip might have taken 10 years. You have aged a decade. You are ready to share your discovery with the world. But when you arrive at Earth's coordinates, the Earth is gone. Because while you experience 10 years, the universe experienced 52,000 years. Civilization has crumbled and risen 10 times over. The language you speak is a dead dialect that no one has uttered for 50 millennia. Your family has been dust for thousands of generations. The cities you knew are geological layers of sediment. You are not an explorer returning home. You are a ghost returning to a graveyard. This is the price of the light year. To travel is to destroy your connection to the present. Every step you take into the stars is a step away from everyone you love. High-speed space travel is a one-way trip into the future. It is a form of suicide where you survive, but your world dies. And this assumes we can even find anything worth visiting. Let's talk about the great voids. We picture the universe as a sea of stars, evenly spread out, like butter on toast. But it's not. Gravity is a clumper. It pulls things together into strands and webs. And between those webs, there is nothing. The Boötes void. It is often called the Great Nothing. It is a sphere of space roughly 230 million light-years in diameter. Let me give you a visual anchor for that. If the Milky Way is a dinner plate, the Boötes void is the size of the entire Earth. In a region that size, there should be 10,000 galaxies. In the Boötes void, we have found 60. It is a sphere of absolute, suffocating emptiness. If the Earth were in the center of the Boötes void, we wouldn't have known other galaxies existed until the 1960s. We would have looked up and seen nothing but blackness. No Andromeda, no triangulation, just a few lonely dim stars and then an abyss that goes on forever. Imagine the psychology of a species evolving in that dark. They would believe, with absolute scientific certainty, that they were the only object in existence. They would have no concept of a universe. They would think the cosmos ended at the edge of their own atmosphere. How do we know we aren't in a void right now? How do we know that the universe we see isn't just a tiny cluttered closet in a mansion of emptiness? We don't. And the scary part is, the voids are growing. As the universe accelerates, the voids expand. They push the galaxy filaments thinner and thinner. The universe is becoming more lonely, more empty every single second. But there is a specific type of horror reserved for the things that are not empty. The things that defy the light year in a different way. We need to talk about the Great Attractor. We know the universe is expanding. Everything is flying apart. But when we look at the movement of our own galaxy and the thousands of galaxies around us, we see something wrong. We are not just drifting aimlessly, we are flowing, like water down a drain. The Milky Way, Andromeda, and the entire Virgo supercluster are being dragged at 1.3 million miles per hour toward a specific point in space. We are being pulled. We can't see what it is. It lies in the zone of avoidance, a region of the sky obscured by the dense gas and dust of our own Milky Way galaxy. It is hidden behind the curtain, but we can feel its gravity. It is called the Great Attractor. Something out there, hundreds of millions of light years away is so massive, so heavy, that it is reeling in entire clusters of galaxies, like fish in a net. It is a gravitational anomaly that defies our models. Is it a cluster of supermassive black holes? Is it a kink in the fabric of the universe? Or is it something else? We are falling toward it. Every second, we are closer. We will never reach it. The expansion of the universe will eventually rip us away from it. But the fact remains. We are being pulled by a monster we cannot see. A monster hiding in the dark, tugging on the leash of our entire reality. This reinforces the terrifying truth of our position. We are small, we are blind, and we are caught in currents we cannot control. Now, let's bring it back to the speed of light. Why is it so slow? I mentioned earlier that the speed of light might be the processing speed of the universe. But let's look at it from a biological perspective. If the universe were designed for life, if it were built for us to explore, the speed limit would be higher, or there would be no limit. The fact that the speed of light is so slow compared to the scale of the universe implies a quarantine. Think about a petri dish in a hazardous materials lab. You keep the samples separated. You make sure the bacteria in dish A cannot reach dish B. You create distance. You create barriers. The light year is a barrier. Maybe we haven't met aliens, not because they don't exist, but because the universe is designed to keep civilizations apart. The distances are a firewall. If a civilization becomes aggressive, if they build a weapon that can destroy a star, or a self-replicating nanobot swarm that consumes matter, the speed of light ensures the damage is contained. The infection cannot spread faster than C. By the time the weapon reaches the next star system, thousands of years have passed. The target might have moved, or died out, or evolved. The universe is a system of airlocks. We are not alone because the universe is empty. We are alone because the universe is safe. We are in solitary confinement for our own protection. And this brings us to the paradox of the night sky. If the universe is infinite and full of stars, the sky should be blindingly white. Everywhere you look, your line of sight should eventually end on a star. So why is the sky black? The traditional answer is that the universe isn't old enough for the light from the distant stars to have reached us yet, and that the expansion is redshifting the light into invisibility. But there is a darker interpretation. The sky is black because the light is dying. Every time you look up, you are witnessing the entropy of the cosmos. Stars run out of fuel. They burn their hydrogen, swell, and die. The rate of star formation in the universe peaked billions of years ago. We are living in the after party. The lights are being turned off one by one. The universe is getting darker. In the far future, the expansion will be so fast that all other galaxies will disappear from our view entirely. The local group, our cluster of galaxies, will merge into one massive, lonely island. Future astronomers will look up and see nothing. No other galaxies, no cosmic background radiation, no evidence of the Big Bang. They will believe they are the entire universe. They will construct physics models that say the universe is static, eternal, and limited to just their island of stars. They will be fundamentally, irrevocably wrong about the nature of reality, and they will have no way of knowing it. The evidence will have been erased by the expansion. We are living in a privileged sliver of time. We are the only ones who will ever know the truth. We are the witnesses to the vanishing. But what if the vanishing isn't natural? There is a theory called the dark forest. It suggests that the reason we see no life is that every other civilization is hiding. They know something we don't. They know that to broadcast your location, to send radio waves and light out into the void, is death. And here we are, blasting our TV signals, our radar, our hello universe messages out at the speed of light. Those signals form a bubble around Earth, a sphere of radio noise expanding at 1 light year per year. It is roughly 200 light years wide now. It has washed over thousands of star systems. If there is anything out there, listening, we have already told them exactly where we are. We have rung the dinner bell. And because of the lag, because of the light year, we won't know if they have answered. If a hostile fleet launched an attack from a star 50 light years away in response to our radio signals from the 1970s, they could be halfway here. They could be coasting through the dark, engines cold, silent as the grave. We wouldn't see them. We wouldn't hear them. We would only know they were coming when the sky caught fire. The delay works both ways. It blinds us to the threat until the knife is already at our throat. The light year protects the predator just as much as it isolates the prey. So we sit here on our little rock, looking at the delayed images of the past, making maps of ghosts and shouting into a canyon that might be filled with wolves. And all the while, the clock is ticking. The light from the beginning of time is fading. The galaxies are running away. The walls are closing in. But if you think isolation is the worst fate the universe has in store for us, you are wrong. Being alone is scary. But being unraveled, being torn apart atom by the very space you occupy, that is the future. We talked about the expansion speeding up, but we didn't talk about where it ends. We didn't talk about what happens when the fabric of space becomes so stretched that it can no longer hold itself together. We need to talk about the Big Rip. The end does not come with a bang, it comes with a tear. We have spoken about the expansion of the universe. We have spoken about the galaxies fleeing from us, disappearing behind the event horizon. But the story doesn't end there. If the acceleration of the universe continues, if the dark energy that pushes space apart gets stronger over time, we face a scenario known as the Big Rip. This is the ultimate betrayal of physics. Right now, gravity is strong enough to hold our galaxy together against the expansion. It is strong enough to hold the solar system together. It is strong enough to hold the Earth together. The expansion is happening in the empty spaces. But in a Big Rip scenario, the phantom energy grows so powerful that it overwhelms gravity on smaller and smaller scales. First, the galaxy clusters will dissolve. The Milky Way will be stripped away from Andromeda. We will be alone in a true void. Then, the galaxy itself will begin to unzip. The stars on the outer rim will be peeled away like leaves in a hurricane. The spiral arms will disintegrate. The night sky will go black as every star is ripped from its orbit and cast into the isolation of the deep dark. Then, it comes for us. About 3 months before the end of time, the solar system will break. The gravity, so the sun will no longer be enough to hold the planets. Earth will drift away into the cold. We will watch the sun recede into a tiny point of light, and then vanish. Then, in the last hour, the Earth will explode. The crust will crack. The mountains will float away. The atmosphere will dissipate into space. Then, in the final fraction of a second, the destruction comes inside. It comes for you. The electromagnetic forces that hold your molecules together will fail. Your cells will unzip. Your DNA will shatter. Finally, the atoms themselves will be torn apart. The electrons will be ripped from the nuclei. The protons and neutrons will be shredded into quarks. The fabric of space-time itself will reach a breaking point. It will tear. The laws of physics will cease to exist. Reality will become a singularity of chaos. And then, nothing. No time, no space, no matter. Just a broken equation. That is the violent end. But there is a quieter, slower, and infinitely more terrifying alternative. The heat death, the big freeze. This is the future where the expansion doesn't rip everything apart. It just keeps going forever. To understand this, we have to look at the timeline. Not in years, but in eras. We are currently living in the stelliferous era, the age of stars. It is the only time in the history of the universe when life is possible. It is a brief, flickering candle in an infinite night. But the fuel is running low. In about 100 trillion years, the last star will be born. It will be a small, red dwarf, barely glowing. It will burn for 1 trillion years, and then it will die. When the last star goes out, the universe will enter the degenerate era. The cosmos will be a graveyard of corpses, white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes, cold dead rocks floating in the dark. There will be no light. If you were a traveler in this era, you could fly for 1 billion years and never see a single photon. But even the corpses will not last. Matter is not eternal. We believe that protons, the building blocks of every atom in your body, are unstable. Over timescales so vast they defy notation, protons will decay. Imagine a diamond. It looks eternal. But if you wait long enough, trillions upon trillions of years, even a diamond will crumble into radiation. So in this dark future, the dead stars will dissolve. The planets will turn into dust, and the dust will turn into light. The universe will be nothing but a sea of black holes and subatomic particles. Welcome to the black hole era. This will be the longest era in history. For googles of years, that's a 1 followed by 100 zeros. The universe will be dominated by monsters. There will be no matter, only gravity traps. But even black holes are not immortal. As Stephen Hawking theorized, they leak. They emit a faint radiation. They slowly, agonizingly evaporate. A supermassive black hole takes roughly 10 or 100 years to evaporate. Try to visualize that number. If you took every atom in the observable universe and turned it into a universe of its own, and then counted every atom in those universes, you still wouldn't be close to 10^100. It is an eternity, and during this eternity, the black holes will sit in the dark, slowly shrinking, slowly dying. And when they finally go, they will vanish in a flash of gamma rays, a final scream into the void. And then comes the dark era, the photon age. The black holes are gone, matter is gone. All that is left are a few photons, stretched out by the expansion until they have almost no energy left. The universe will be a cold, uniform soup of nothingness. The temperature will be absolute zero. Time will lose its meaning. Because for time to exist, something has to happen. And in the dark era, nothing will ever happen again. The universe will be dead. Not just empty. Dead. This is the ultimate implication of the light year. Thus, it is a measurement of a finite resource. Every time we look at a star, we are watching the fuel gauge drop. We are watching the universe spend its inheritance. But there is a final twist. A twist that brings the horror back to right now. Back to you. We call it the Boltzmann brain paradox. We assume that we are biological creatures who evolved on a planet over billions of years. We assume our memories are real. We assume the history we read in books actually happened. But thermodynamics tells us that nature loves entropy. It loves disorder. It is much, much harder for the universe to create a complex, ordered solar system with billions of humans and a coherent history than it is to create a hallucination. In an infinite universe, over infinite time, random fluctuations of particles will happen. Atoms will bump into each other. Eventually, purely by chance, they might form a shape, a rock, a drop of water. And if you wait long enough, they might form a brain. A fully formed brain, complete with memories, suspended in the void for a microsecond before it freezes. This brain would think it was alive. It would remember a childhood. It would remember reading a script about cosmic horror. It would see a room around it. But the room isn't there. The history isn't there. It is just a random collection of atoms that came together for a split second of consciousness in the middle of chaos. The math is terrifying. It is statistically more likely that you are a Boltzmann brain floating in the void right now, hallucinating your entire life, than it is that you are a real human being who evolved in a real universe. Why? Because the universe is mostly chaos. Ordered states, like Earth, are incredibly rare. Random fluctuations are common. So ask yourself, how do you know you aren't just a flicker in the dark? How do you know that the light year and the stars and the galaxies aren't just the fever dream of a dying mind formed from the dust of a dead universe? You don't. You can't. And this brings us to the final, crushing realization. The ultimate cosmic horror is not that the universe is hostile. It's not that it's big. It's that it is indifferent. We project meaning onto the stars. We look at the nebula and see eyes. We look at the constellations and see heroes. We look at the light year and see a challenge. But the universe doesn't care. It doesn't know we are here. We are a byproduct of a chemical reaction on a wet rock, destined to be erased by the march of entropy. The light we see is just waste heat. The distance we measure is just the gap between mistakes. We are alone in a room that is getting bigger, colder, and darker every second. The light from the beginning of time is fading. The message, if there ever was one, is lost in the static. So, what do? We watch. We are the eyes of the universe. For this brief, shining moment in the Stelliferous era, we are the only things that can see the glory of the cosmos. We are the only things that can feel the terror of the scale. We are the witnesses. When you look up at the night sky tonight, do not look for comfort. Do not look for meaning. Look at the ghosts. Look at the time machine. Look at the prison walls. And remember, the light you see has traveled for millions of years to reach you. It has survived the void. It has dodged the dust. It has outrun the expansion. It has hit your eye. It is a gift. A terrifying, ancient, dying gift. Cherish it, because the lights are going out. And soon, there will be nothing left but the dark. This is the universe. It is vast, it is ancient, and it is ending. Good night.